And so with that, because I have heard, when you're thinking about just looking at the physical preparation for something like the Swan Queen, and the focus on the needing to strengthen the back and how much you have to use your arms, were there particular things that you found that it was helpful for you to focus on or develop, or programs even that I know companies actually go, we're doing Swan Lake, we're going to be doing these kind of exercises to actually also, prevent injuries that happen with that? Any other comments to that?
I wish I always do my same warm-up, my same preparation. I go like 3 hours before the performance, and doesn't matter if I do that, if I do, I don't know, duets, Cunningham's piece that is in flash shoes, it's like 2 seconds and nobody saw me, I was like, and that's over. I still do my warm-up on point shoes. I don't know, I take the same, and that goes back from when I first joined. When I first joined, I don't know, the nurse, it was like a walk down on the stage, and then the next day I was doing a fairy variation, and I will give the exact same, the current goes up, and you give 100%, doesn't matter the role that you're in, and so I wish I could say, well, I spend a little bit more energy in one thing and a little less energy. It's never always the same.
So it's consistent for you.
Australian Ballet does have a program through the medical team where they do specify that Swan Lake's coming up, and this is good exercises for the boys that may be good for whatever they're doing. The swans need to have a lot of intrinsic work through their feet and obviously upper back and arm strength. And that's tailored with the Pilates instructor or body conditioning instructor within our company. So very specific risk management, what exercises are advised. They're not mandatory that you do them before class, but advised to give you the best physical fitness. And to prevent injuries through a long season. The Australian Ballet does 21 performances of a season in a row in Sydney. So if you're a swan and doing 4 acts every single night for 3 weeks, it's very demanding, but if you've got some of that strength built up, or at least aware of what is needed. For me personally, I looked at the list and the exercises and went, I'll just rehearse. So for me, the rehearsals, and the Australian Ballet rehearses a lot. We get a lot of time every single day leading up to a performance. With a partner, with solos. So I just found that the work I was doing in the studio myself was enough for my level of fitness and confidence on stage.
And part of that, though, would be that you're coming to understand your own bodies. You also have the experience after years and dancing in principal roles to know what it is that you need to actually be doing to get you in your best.
There's also, in saying that, me about work, the recovery is really important too. The rest and the nutrition and the mental relaxation that one needs outside the studio or stage, that's of high importance. That's 50% for me, what goes on in my head, as to what translates to how I get onto stage. And you being a psychologist would be a big advocate for that. But there's all of that work that you can do, but if you're not supplementing it and taking care of yourself.
And I think the more the years went by, the more you know your body, and the more time takes, the more things you find to keep it in that level. The more you have to do, but the more you know your body. It's quite interesting. That's the never-ending process. Not how you learn the roles, but also is how to get to the performance, how to get to be the best that you can be. And it's that never-ending learning experience of what you have to do to keep it there and to keep working, and that your body's in good shape.
It's the intelligent way of working too. It's not just going in the studio for 6 hours and running 3 acts 3 times. It's efficient, intelligent work as you get
what works
older.
for you.
Yes. And mentally as well as physically, to be in that right headspace beforehand.
So with that then, in the psychological preparation for doing a demanding role like this, as many others are, what kind of things do you find, when you talked about freaking out? And I think I've got a quote from you, Rachel. You mentioned in an interview once that the role that, don't you hate the internet? In an interview that the role that most tested you mentioned was actually Black Swan. And in light of your challenges you had, like you said, freaking out about it and the self-belief to do it and the pressure and the expectations, how did you find that you managed that or overcame that?
The funny thing was, I worried more about it in the rehearsal period and leading up to it. I think as in the context of the ballet, with the lead up, it was the right time to actually then step into it. It's like I needed that weight of tiredness for me to actually then be able to take it on. And I think it was all mental. It was me, you know, not fully believing before that point that I could be all that I imagined it to be. And I think, so I used to hate rehearsing it. And to the point where people would just say, okay, no emotion at all. And I find that really hard to even rehearse without, you know, being involved, like just cold. It was actually a good learning curve for me just to do it physically and build from there. And but yeah, getting to the stage was different because it was part of that process, part of that story. But yeah, very challenging.
And for others, you're kind of thinking about reflecting upon, as you said, the mental aspects of preparing to perform at your best. What do some of those things involve for you?
The trust that the work within the studio that you've done
that's why I love rehearsing. I love taking class. It's my time to figure things out, because when you get on the stage, it's too late. You have to have everything figured out before. When you're on the stage, it's too late. So that's why I love it. That's been my inspiration. That's why I love taking class. I love all the work, my exercises, my things, and I do a lot of other extra stuff. But it's my moment to figure things out, to get my body in the right way, and because then when you're on the stage, you have to just listen to the music and dance, and you can't be thinking like, oh, am I having this? It takes away the emotional thing, takes away everything. So that's why I think the important thing is to rehearse, and I actually enjoy the process. Some days it's struggling more, finding things out. Some days are more enjoyable, and sometimes you have rehearsals that are like fantastic, much better than performances. And, but it's all part of the the life of a dancer. Sometimes you have great, fulfilling rehearsals and not too good shows. Sometimes you have horrible rehearsals where you're struggling, and then you come out with great shows. So it's all part of the process, and that's the way. I don't know, but yeah. I think for me that works.
For you, it's that grounding of your routine.
To work, to work really well, and then just when you're
let it go.
Enjoy it. Yeah.
I also like the rehearsal process. I'm sure one of your questions is going to be, what's your favourite ballet? And I can't pick one, but it is about the months, if you're lucky enough to be able to have months of a role spent in the studio and hours upon a day with a partner, with a coach, with a pianist. It has to be fun. You can't just turn up at 7:30 on a Saturday night and go, okay, good, now I'm going to really have a good time. You've got all that time in the studio, which is your career and your life and your experimental time to develop technique, artistry, emotions, and some days are really not good if you don't like your partner or your coach is saying something that you really don't believe. But it's all about that time that has to be special, and the moment before you go on stage, it has to be, well, I've just done it in the studio. I know I can do it. Everybody else around me is probably nervous for different reasons. It's not just me that's, heart's palpitating here. So I have to put it in perspective. The newest quarter ballet member's probably freaking out because they're having to hold a tray, and my partner's freaking out because he's got to hold me up. And so I just think it's not just me in that situation that may kind of be a little bit unnerved. And the most important thing that I remember before I go on is that everyone wants you to do well. You're sitting there, you wanting to watch a nice show, and you're wanting to get something from the dancers that are on stage. So I remember that, not thinking, oh my God, they're all judging me, and I hope that, there's going to be something endearing. They want me to do well, and I will give it my best.
And Martine, any?
Well, I guess I grew up in a different time. We danced, I learned on stage. I mean, we got opportunities to get on stage, and if you didn't, and each time you performed, you went, you could build on it.
Yes.
Performances are much more rare nowadays because, we'd go on tour, we'd tour for 3 months, and we danced at least 3 times a week. And a lot of those were full-length ballets, some were not. So you got the, you could sort of live with the fact that you didn't feel like it that day, but you still went out there, and you got to the point. Well, at it's okay. I'm all right. You know, I can do this. But you were much more, at least I was, going with the moment of dealing with whatever. I mean, I was always wanted to do well. I did not, well, maybe not even then. You know, I know I was a real brat when I was really young. When I didn't like certain piece of choreography, I would kind of go, well, you know. I'm sorry, folks, I have to dance this. I don't think it's very good. But I learned not to do that. You know, but you start to grow up. And you realize that it's really not about what you think about ballet. It's about performing and making the best of it, and learning to appreciate what it's all about, and, you know, and why it is what it is, and why you're doing that at that particular time. So I kind of grew up going through all these you know, different ways of approaching Swan Lake as well as other ballets. And you know, and we were fortunate in that time that we did perform a lot. So and if you had a performance that didn't go well, you could go, oh wow, that didn't go well, and you could think about why it didn't go well, and then you could go, okay, I'm not going to do that again. So you had the opportunity to grow by performance rather than spend a lot of time in rehearsal. In rehearsal, you just prepared physically. You had to be strong enough. You had to get the stamina. You had to get the, you know, the partnering and everything else. So it was a little bit a luxury that I didn't really know I had at the time. But I'm grateful to have had it.
And certainly, I mean, what I'm hearing is that ability that it's that constant learning process. So how am I taking from something that I did, whether it's rehearsal or performance in that way, you know, what works well, what doesn't, what can I choose to do differently, you know, next time. But what I'm also getting that sense of is that clear connection and the feeling emotion side within a role such as Odette O'Deal. So within the general public arena, for those people that might not be more familiar with Swan Lake, obviously the movie Black Swan certainly put Swan Lake front and centre in a whole range of interesting ways. When thinking about the kind of characterisation of the roles, have you had any moments in time where you kind of felt like feathers were starting to grow from your back in taking on that character?
A nice analogy is for a port bra, because you know you're supposed to start your port bra from your back, but no.
Yeah, good. No.
I think it's nice to play different characters. That's why I love the theatre in general, and to be able to be an instrument. Really, we're just the most finely tuned instruments, like for choreography, for choreographers. And it's really just a blessing, really, to be able, in one ballet, to be able to explore two sides of a feminine personality. You know, the vulnerable, the soft, the tender, and then this, you know, strong, dominant, in control, sassy almost, depending on how you play it, woman. And you know, there's bits of that in most women. So. And even if it's not in your character at all, you can create it and have fun with that. So.
Wonderful.